This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, I've been doing a bunch of videos lately that have been styled the beginner's guide to whatever. I think I've done the beginner's guide to blues, the beginner's guide to string bending, the beginner's guide to tapping, and so on. And that's kind of what we're about today. And I've had a few requests to do this one, which is the beginner's guide to improvising. You see, I find a lot of people get to the point where they've learned to play a scale pattern. They can run up and down the scale, it's there in the muscle memory, and they can do it. And then whoever's shown them the scale pattern will say, great, now you can go and play some lead guitar. And not everyone, but plenty of people find that there's a bit of a no man's land in between knowing the scale pattern and being able to create something that sounds musical with the scale. So that's the area we're addressing today. All of the examples I'm going to show you today use this pattern of D major pentatonic scale. Now, I'm going to assume that you know about like pentatonic scales, or you know at least one pattern of it, and you can locate that up and down the neck. If that's something that you need some help with, then ages and ages ago I did a video, I think it's called something like Everything You Need to Know About the Pentatonic Scale, and I've linked to that down in the description. So if you're not sure about how to find the correct pentatonic scale on the neck for whatever song you're playing in, then you need to watch that video. Go and check it out. But let's assume that you can play the scale pattern and you can move the scale pattern up and down the neck to find the right key for whatever song you're playing in. Most people, I find, well, not most people, but probably plenty of people's first attempt at playing a little bit of lead guitar might sound a bit like this. And it's not good, is it? It's just rambling all over the place. There seems to be maybe a kind of a thought process that goes, you know, if I just keep going, sooner or later I'll hit the one magical note that'll kind of make it all make sense. And it just never, ever is going to happen like that. Let me show you what I mean. Here is a string of numbers that I want you to remember. 1, 7, 9, 8. Okay, got that? Right, now here's another string of numbers that I want you to remember. 1, 7, 9, 8, 3, 15, 27, 80, 17, 50. Okay, which is the easiest string of numbers to remember? I think we know the answer to that one, okay? So if you're trying to make a memorable sounding solo, then it stands to reason that you need to kind of keep each part of that, each little string of notes or string of numbers, as succinct and easy to remember as possible. So just take 4 or 5 notes from the scale pattern and play them. Something like this. And already that's starting to sound a little bit more tuneful and a little bit more musical than the previous example. So now we need to create something called a motif with those notes. Now a motif is basically, I tend to think of it as a rhythmic pattern, something that has some kind of contours, some sort of feature rather than just a flat line on the horizon. And we do that by taking one of the notes in that 4 or 5, I think it was 5 notes I played there. We take one of the notes and just stretch it a little bit, just make it a little bit longer. And I'm going to do that, I think, with the 3rd note of the group of 5. Here it is. So there you go. Now it's got some kind of almost like the beginnings of a melody going on there. And all you've done is chosen 5 notes and decided to stretch one of them. You could use note 3 or note 2 or note 4. Try and kind of choose one from the middle of the group somewhere. Okay, the next thing that you can do is you can take that same motif and start playing different groups of notes on it, keeping the rhythm of the notes the same, but just kind of populating that rhythm with different notes from the pattern. That might sound like this. And as you can hear, that works pretty well. It's starting to sound a little bit more like a piece of music with every step. The next thing I want you to do is to vary the motif a little bit. When I say vary it, I mean just keep the core of it the same, the basic rhythmic structure of it the same. By all means, use different notes and, kind of do all of that stuff that we did in the last step, but just vary it a little bit. Add a note on the end, add a couple of notes on the end. Stretch out one of the other notes, add a note on the beginning. Instead of playing one of the notes once, play it a couple of times. Add some variation to it, this kind of thing. And once you've done that, once you've kind of started getting comfortable adding variations, then you might find that just the ending of one of these little phrases starts to sound a little bit like a motif in itself, and you can kind of repeat that a few times. Maybe stretch it out, extend it, repeat it a few times. Just kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent with it. And then, here's the clever bit. Come back to the original motif that you played at the beginning. This is why it's a good idea to play something that's easy to remember, because not only does it help the listener remember it, it helps you remember what you played at the beginning. And if you return to the original motif again, maybe with the same notes, maybe with some different notes in that same rhythmic pattern, it does give a sense of everything's come full circle and you've gone on a bit of a journey. Here's that happening a couple of times. I play a motif, I do the variations, I extend and stretch it out a little bit and then go back to the original one, and then I go around it all again. And it sounds like this. And that, I would say, is a guitar solo. It might not be the best guitar solo in the world, but it's certainly a lot better than where we started, like this. So you can see how you can just basically evolve an idea like this, and the more you practice it and the more you just kind of learn to listen to what you're playing as you're playing it and how it's sitting in the environment of the backing track that you're playing over, the easier it becomes. And you can just kind of do this on the fly, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to just kind of sit and plan it out to begin with, kind of record your motif and then listen back to it and then record another motif on top of that, or do all the variations and stuff, and just do it in steps like that, like we've illustrated today, just one lick at a time, and then practice it until you can just, as I say, do it on the fly. That last little solo that I played there, that is all tabbed out and available up on my Patreon page. There's the address right there, and the backing track is also there as well. Special little thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for all of the support that you're giving me. Thank you, everyone. It is truly appreciated. I'm really, really grateful. And that's pretty much all I've got for you today, folks. That is certainly something that I've found helpful for a lot of people when they're learning to take their first steps into playing lead guitar, and, as I say, bridging that gap from being able to play a scale pattern to being able to play a solo. Hope you found it useful, and if you have, then please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. If you want to support the channel, as I say, you can join the Patreon, or there are a bunch of other things that you can do, enrolling on courses and all manner of such things, and all of the links are downstairs in the description box. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.